And you are live.
Welcome, everybody, to the 15 May 2023 meeting of the Annapolis Transportation Board. The agenda is fairly light this time around. We've been preparing for commissioning week, and maybe some of the rest of you have too. But let me plunge into the agenda. The call of order will be taken by Tara simply by looking at the screen, as we have done in the past. And the agenda was distributed to all of you. Are we fine for the agenda? Any additions, alterations anybody would like to make? If not, we will proceed. There is no public participation that I'm aware. Oh, actually, I did have a somebody who called in reference to electric vehicles, and I will get to that a little bit later when EVs come up. Next on the agenda. Oh, John, did you have your hand up for something?
I did briefly have my hand up. Are we supposed to approve the minutes from the previous meeting as well?
Yeah. Thank you.
Should that be an agenda item? Did I miss that?
No, I missed that. Thank you.
Okay, well then may I move to accept the agenda with the inclusion of a new item 1.5 called a review of April minutes.
Yes. Second, anybody? I see one. Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes? I see a majority there. Thank you so much. The minutes are approved. Next on the agenda, Alderwoman Karma O'Neill. What would you like to tell us about the city?
Good evening. I do not have a lot to report in this city. As I had said last month, we are sort of knee deep in budget preparations and approvals. We've had several meetings. The Finance Committee met all of the department directors over the course of 2 weeks. And the Finance Committee had sent in their finance reports to the council last Monday. We have 2 different work sessions coming up in the next 2 weeks in regards to the budget, and then final approval of the budget, I believe, takes place around June 5th. That might not be the exact date, but I believe that it's close to that date. There's not a lot new in the budget this year. The Finance Committee did focus on the fact that we have, for the past 2 budget cycles, been working with some ARPA funds from COVID, and that by budget cycle 2025, we will no longer have access to any of those funds. They'll have been depleted. And so we're really focusing in on what's important to the city, projects and positions that must need to be filled in order for us to move forwards, and ways to hopefully increase revenue without increasing taxes. That's always the goal. So we are, scrutinizing a lot of the budgets. When departments were asking for specific positions, we were going back to job descriptions in many cases and taking a look at, was there a possibility of reorganizing a department or portions of a department in order to keep from bringing on a permanent position. So that was a lot of the work of the Finance Committee this time around, and we will continue to do so. I'm looking forward to some of my colleagues' amendments that will come up next week, because that's always interesting to see what's going on in each ward. As far as Ward 2 goes, I can tell you that there are some amendments for some projects. I believe I touched on it last month. Cedar Park and Windell, looking at adding pedestrian activated crosswalks, looking at a study on Farragut Road between Cedar Park and Rao Boulevard, for an added sidewalk, and also an added sidewalk to between Taylor Avenue and Farragut Road on Cedar Park Road. Places where people are starting to do a lot more walking and just making it easier for them to do so. Last week, I had a meeting with Acting Director Tom Smith from Planning and Zoning and David Jarrell from Public Works in regards to the project going on Taylor Avenue, both the hotel and the new residential development that has gone very near the police station. And when the hotel was initially approved, there was a plan to put a traffic circle there to alleviate some of the traffic on Taylor Avenue heading into and outside of the city. There has been some trouble, I believe, with getting approval from the Graduates for use of the property that's now called the Lowe's Access Road. It's actually now owned by the Graduate Hotel, so it should be the Graduate Access Road, but it's on paper as the Lowe's Access Road. That would be part of the circle, and the rest of the circle would be kind of contained in that area, if you can imagine, between the police station, Cedar Park Road, and on the right-hand side, Rosedale. If they do not get the approval from the Graduate Hotel for use of that space, there will be a left in, right out turn into the hotel only, with a stoplight and a pedestrian access there, across an added enhanced crosswalk is what they're calling it. So I'm
do I
waiting
understand
to-
correctly that the need for a circle is generated entirely by the new hotel?
Partially. There was a need prior to the hotel request going in, just because that intersection is a tricky intersection. If you're trying to come out of the police station, it's a hard left-hand turn to make. The sight line is not quite 100% clear. There is not really walking area because there's not a sidewalk on that side of the street, except for a very, very teeny spot between the police station and Poplar Trail.
Mm-hmm.
So the developer that's doing the houses, Terrapin Station, it's called, does have in the plans to complete the sidewalk both to the trail and then on the other side from the development to Taylor Avenue. So that is part of the plan. And then hopefully we'll have the remaining part of the plan being the circle and or an enhanced crossing area and turning lane there. So that's plan B. Other than that, we are working on greater access throughout the city. Alderwoman Pindell Charles is not on this evening because she is attending a meeting that they're talking about the expansion of what's called the West East Extension that will ultimately go from People's Park to, oh my gosh, I totally had a mind blank, the park behind Staples that's city owned, Waterworks Park, thank you. And they have asked for community input. They put together a community board of people who live along the trail, including those from Clay Street, to talk about where the trail's going, how it's going to work. It'll be a both pedestrian and bike related trail. So there's a lot of transportation going on in the city and projects surrounded around different types of transportation going on in the city.
Great, that's very interesting. Thank you so much. I have a question about something that has bothered a lot of neighbors for a while. You probably know the answer to this. Lots of speeding tickets have been generated on Farragut by this 20-mile-an-hour zone, which is marked as a school zone. And I'm not aware of a school there. Is there one there?
There is a school there. That I believe that the tickets have somewhat stopped in the past 12 to 14 months, but maybe I'm wrong on that one. But there is a school that's located in the church at Rao and Farragut. There's a school there, and they were very successful in lobbying to get that zone put in.
That's odd because the zone is not connected to the church, is it? It's farther down the road.
It's close enough to the church that the school that's in the church is the school that lobbied for that.
Interesting. Well, thanks for the information. That's great.
Sure.
All right. Next on the agenda is Marcus Moore, Director of Transportation Department.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Don't have a whole lot since our last meeting either. One point to be made, the RFP for the micro transit has hit the street. Bids are due in on the 18th, I think at 2 p.m. We had a pre-bid meeting about 2 weeks ago and quite a lot of enthusiasm where there were about 10 prospers that were in person and another 8 or so over the Zoom call with our purchasing agent. So at least 20 people have exhibited interest in bidding on this micromobility plan. We look forward to starting something new that will be a little different than what we've been used to doing in transit. So once it comes down and having the meetings and scoring and all that, getting things set up, we're looking at the middle of the summer. But more updates on our progress at these meetings will be forthcoming. Probably have some really concrete stuff to share by July.
Great. And these micromobility options, some of them will extend to outside of the city to mesh with the county for the shopping center and so forth?
Right. It will mirror what we're doing with our city project. That's a good point. Or our city bus service. That's a good point. Because what we're replacing was the Annapolis Go that started about 12 months ago in May of last year. And it was just supposed to be, further downtown, but it's kind of encompassed most of the city up through. So this one will go across the line into the county and maybe beyond, following the routes that we have. Because when we had the yellow and the gold, we went a little bit further down Riva Road. So when we do the purple, we are down Housley, where the I think that's a Safeway and there's a Best Buy and all around that area. So we will be mirroring where we're going right now, which is the hospital, which is the mall. And then we'll see what happens with the transit center that's being proposed by the county. That's a good ways out, more than a year and a half, I'm sure. But on the other side of the mall, Bestgate side, to have like a transit hub, we would, be a part of that as well. But that's what we have new and exciting in our plans right here now.
Thanks. Are you being treated well by the city with respect to finance for this coming year, or is that decision yet to be made?
As Alderwoman O'Neill said, we're being fairly treated. We've all done our piece to present deliberations, as Alderwoman O'Neill said, for the last 2 weeks. And I think the 5th and the 12th are the final dates to do the final vote on the approved budget for FY24.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Let me now come to the item of board vacancies. We had 4 board vacancies, and I'm happy to see with the reappearance of Zoe that one of those 4 vacancies has been filled by the person who vacated it. Welcome back, Zoe.
Thank you. Good to be back.
All right. So that leaves us with 3 vacancies, 2 associated with wards and 1 for the one at large. We've had several applications that I'm aware of that were received by the city. I was distressed to hear that they had not been acknowledged. They'd sort of dropped into a black hole. It would be nice if the city would acknowledge those persons who submit applications to join boards and commissions, but that seems not to be happening as a matter of course. I don't know where the mayor is with respect to appointments to fill those vacancies, but I'm aware of a couple of good applicants, and I would hope that they would be acted on soon. Again, if any of you are come across people who could fill one of the vacancies, by all means, let me know and I'll pass the word on to the mayor's office and see if we can take care of it. Ward 4 continues to be vacant. Ward 7 is vacant. So those are the 2 ward vacancies. We had expressions of interest from people in other wards, but of course there's no slot to put them in. And so our
Correct.
highest priority would be wards 4 and 7.
I have a question. What are the requirements for a representative from the Naval Academy?
Zoe, you are the expert.
Yeah, so I'm back representing the Naval Academy in that role.
I beg your
do you
pardon?
know what- Yeah. So I was the Naval Academy's representative, and then I left my job at the Naval Academy, and now I'm back at my job at the Naval Academy. So I'm back.
I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So that seat's now filled by me again.
Okay.
But I'm happy to chat with you about the responsibilities of the.
And,
Yeah.
and we had our chance to put somebody else there and we blew it.
No, it's in this case, inattention was a good thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Zoe, I need to chat with you about one thing that came up during your absence.
I'm
So
unmuted.
maybe you can figure out a way to
Unmuted.
text me.
Okay.
And Zoe, I'm glad to see you back.
Thanks, Beth. John, is it related to the transportation board or something else? Because I can send you my work
It's
email.
related to Naval Academy transportation.
Okay,
So I figured you're the right person to talk to.
yep.
Okay, moving on to old business and reports. Parking. I have nothing on parking. Is there any new contribution on parking, Beth?
I don't know if I said last month or not, excuse me. But 3 other people and myself, if you've seen the petition that was out asking about, you signed the petition because we were upset with premium parking in districts 1 and 2. And so I'm one of the 4 people who are have organized to try to make some changes, some beneficial changes to residents dealing with this very interesting situation districts 1 and 2 are in. And I will tell you that we've got almost 500 signatures on the petition. And I do think the city is seeing that people are not happy. We have gone to the Transportation Committee meetings for March and April. Their May one was canceled. And the committee was very gracious and allowed us to talk at both meetings. And so that was good. And so we are having a kind of, for those who don't live in districts, parking districts 1 and 2, we're having a little town hall on Wednesday dealing with the parking and with premium parking and with upcoming potential changes, some of them being those proposed by residents. We don't know what that means, but here's hoping. But I will tell you that for for those of us who have to deal with premium parking and their app and their website, it's very difficult. It is really difficult. And it's difficult. Jim and I found out today because we needed to reserve 2 parking spaces for our rentals for commissioning week. And he tried everything under the sun to get these things to work. We're told you can reserve them 30 days in advance. You can reserve multiple days and all, but he couldn't get it to work. And he couldn't get it to work with the help with the people from Premium Parking over the phone. So we went there today, and it turns out it isn't that difficult to do. And yes, you can do multiple days for the same car. However, because there are none instructions on how to do anything on their website, if you run into trouble, you can't figure out how to get out of trouble or to get on the right track. And their error messages that you get don't relate to what you're doing or how to get out of trouble, such as for the first one, such as you can reserve tickets, parking permits, guest parking permits for multiple days. So the first day, say your guest is arriving at 1 o'clock. So you end the next day at 1 o'clock. So now you want parking ticket 2. Well, you can't start at 1 o'clock the next day. It won't allow you to. You
Okay,
have
Beth,
to,
these things have been communicated. I'm very happy that it's being worked with the city and with the contractor. It's kind of
Okay.
a Ward 1 problem only. It sounds as though you're trying very well to fix it, and I'm glad for that.
we are. And so anyway, it
And
turns
I'm
out.
tempted to take the video of some of these meetings, which have been heated, to say the least, and put them up
come
so that
on.
Ward 2
You'd been
Ward 2
there, I know.
representatives can see an example of what happens in practice when you put a parking distance into a parking district into effect, because it's full of Sturm und Drang.
Yes. Well, here's hoping that we can get it fixed, because just back up again, it looks like the city may be finally looking and accepting that the residents are not happy and that there needs something to be done. And it isn't large. It isn't a large thing. It's just reprogramming and making it be efficient and do what it's supposed to be doing. So that's it. I'm sorry I went on so long. I get going on this thing and I can't stop. You know?
Well, that's the thing. Parking grabs people hard.
Yeah.
Okay, next item is bicycles. House Bill 519 basically did exactly what the city of Annapolis and the county of Anne Arundel asked the legislature to do. And that was to change the default setting in state law with respect to the use of sidewalks by bicycles. It was well worked out. It was passed, I think, unanimously, both by the committee that dealt with it and by the House of Delegates at large. And then it went over to the Senate and nothing happened. A lot of stuff that goes to the Senate apparently is not acted on, not out of malice or opposition, but just out of inattention and workload. And Alderwoman Pindell Charles made the useful suggestion that we should try to stiffen the spine of our representatives in the Senate and have them, the third time this thing comes around, to actually get a vote on it. If we can't even get to vote, we'll never get a vote for yes, but I'm fairly confident if we can bring it to vote in the Senate, it will pass and it will be behind us as a successful change in state law that we initiated here. To that end, I followed Alderwoman Pindell Charles' suggestion and drafted a resolution to be considered for passage by the City Council, and it was sent to you. And so I'd like to open it up for discussion, amendment, approval or disapproval. Has everybody had a chance to look at it? It went around, I guess, yesterday. Any thoughts, anybody?
I thought it was very good.
Yes, John? I see a thumb.
That's my whole thought.
Picking up,
Thumbs
for it.
Thumbs up for it.
All right, Tara?
In one of your last clauses, you
Yeah,
have
there's
by
a double,
default.
I've used a word twice. I need to strike that. Is that what you were
Exactly.
thinking of?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I spotted that after it went out. Anything else? Okay, with
Does this
that,
need a vote action by the Transportation Board?
indeed, we will consider a motion for adoption.
I would like to move that we adopt the city council resolution to stiffen the spine of the Senate.
Second it.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Say aye, raise a hand. All those opposed?
I'm
And
gonna abstain on this one, Kurt, because I haven't seen it. I haven't
Okay.
received any of the materials for the meeting tonight, so.
oh my goodness, I wonder if you're, no, that's right, because of the email address, you did not
Right, so-
get it.
Yeah, so
All right.
it looks like you have enough votes to carry it, but I'm just gonna abstain.
Correct, I understand, thank you. All right, I will get that over to the city council and hope that they act on it. And speaking of city council, I will come back to them on this next item for electric vehicles. We made a recommendation concerning electric vehicles, which covered both signage and enforcement of the proposition that EV vehicles that are actively charging, and only those vehicles, be allowed to use EV charger spaces. And that went to the city some time ago. I'm not aware of any action that has occurred. Furthermore, I have corroboration from other people out in the public who contacted me saying that at the Pip Moyer Center, for example, no change in signage has occurred, and there continue to be violations of the policy that only actively charging EVs should be using those spaces. So Alderwoman O'Neill, can you tell me, have you done anything to advance this recommendation that the Transportation Board made with respect to electric vehicles?
Last I checked, and I'll have to go back into my notes, it went into committee, it went into Environmental Committee and Finance Committee, and I'll have to double check because I have not seen it in Finance Committee come before us. So I'll
In
just
your
have to say-
opinion, is a change in any ordinance required, or is this something that could be done by simple administrative action?
I'm not positive because I can't pull up the initial resolution. I will have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, we're very interested in this and would like to follow up on it. Tom, do you have anything to say on this?
Not with respect to the resolution that we put forth, nope.
Okay. Anybody else on EVs?
Well, I guess on the EVs, I'll say that the EV show that was originally scheduled for, I think, like 22nd of April, it got rescheduled to last weekend, the 6th, and it was a really successful show. They had great weather and a lot of participation. There's a drone video that I can share if anybody's interested. I don't think there's a chat in this, but I can just send it back out to the distribution. But a lot of EV manufacturers participated, and we just had a ton of walkthrough traffic. So it was a really successful event for Albia.
Wonderful. I'm sorry I missed that. I have an observation related to this. On Taylor Avenue, next to the DNR, is a parking lot which is open to the public and which has approximately 10 charging stations. Every one of those charging stations is occupied by a DNR vehicle which is not charging. so that it's effectively closed to the public by DNR. So I'd like to pull the thread on whether these charging stations in the city are in fact public or if they are reserved for DNR use only, because they have effectively blocked their use by simply parking their vehicles in front of the charging stations. Not cool. PG&E may have, but I need to pull a thread on this to find out whether it's true. PG&E may have installed those charge points with the understanding that they would be open to the public and not reserved to DNR alone. Tom, do you know anything about the DNR charges?
I don't.
Okay. Would you be interested in looking into that with DNR?
And your objective is to find out if DNR is allowed to park their cars in their parking lot?
They certainly are. The question is whether those charging stations, which are open to the public, were installed by B&G for the explicit purpose of use by the public, or if they were installed by DNR for DNR with the intention of closing them to the public. I think the former is the case, but we need to verify it. And a matter of, if it's true that they're public, the cure is very simple. DNR can simply move their vehicles over 10 feet because there are plenty of parking spaces.
Sure. So just to make sure I'm asking the right question, you want me to contact DNR, and they have in their parking lot charging stations, and the question is, are those charging stations meant to be available to the public?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if they are, ask them, is there a policy to close them by parking their vehicles there? And how do we get that policy changed? It's a lot of chargers there.
Uh-huh.
And they're at a place that's convenient for a lot of people, I would think. As you come into town, visitors arriving from other places could stop by there fairly conveniently and charge, and then move on to other area destinations.
Well, so let me ask this question. That I understand what you just said there, but correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're rolling into town, you can't just park in the DNR parking lot.
There are here's what my eyes tell me, but you can corroborate this by talking to somebody who actually knows. My eyes tell me that a large portion of the parking lot is closed, and it's for DNR access, and there's a gate, and you have to have a card to get in. It's clearly under their control. A smaller portion of the parking lot, though, has about 10 charging stations and about 20-25 parking spaces, and it's ungated and open to the public. And those are the ones that if it is in fact public and the chargers are meant for use by the public, I would like to see DNR move their cars over so that they're no longer blocked.
And is this on the Navy Stadium side of Taylor, or the
right across? It's on the DNR side of Taylor.
Okay.
Right across from the stadium.
As a point of reference for you, Kurt, I did look up charging stations in the city of Annapolis. The city of Annapolis does publish a list of public charging stations, and the DNR site is not listed here.
Really? Okay. Well,
that
that's
by
either by intent or it's out of date. We'll find out which.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks so much.
For point of reference, at least at like the Naval Academy, where you see, charging stations are intended for only, Federal Navy cars. So I don't know what the case is for DNR there, if it was intended for state vehicle charging only. Tom, if you don't have luck at DNR, Department of General Services is who sort of manages and operates state office buildings as well as the parking. So it is occupied by DNR, but that building is actually owned and operated by Department of General Services.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, the the charging stations they're operated, I've forgotten what the charging company is, but anybody who has that app on the phone can walk up to it and charge his car. If you can get at the charging station, but they're blocked by DNR vehicles. It appears to be open to the public, except for the fact that they're parking their cars there.
Even if they're DNR's private charging stations, it's a bad precedent to be parking gas guzzlers in front of charging stations.
Yeah, these were actually
And the
EV
state-
cars. These were EV cars, but
Oh.
they're not plugged in.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe the statement still holds with a little less acrimony in it.
Right. Okay, thanks so much. We're at new business and activity reports by the members. John Giannetti is not here. Charles Brooks is not here. David DeQuinzio is. Are you within earshot, David?
Yes, I am. I have nothing to report this at this time.
Okay. Thanks for your information on electrifying boats. It was very helpful. And Carol Kelly is not here tonight. Will be here for our next meeting, but intends to drop off the board thereafter for personal
Marcus.
reasons.
Marcus has his hand up.
Yes, Marcus, thank you.
Yeah, if it's okay, I did forget to give you some important information when I reported out, as we may not meet before the grand reopening of Hillman. It's June 14th. There'll be a lot of fanfare there. I'll make sure information is gotten out to everyone, but Wednesday, June 14th, I'll make sure information is disseminated throughout the board here.
Great, thank you. That's critical information.
Yeah, it is. I don't know why. That's very important and just slipped my mind.
And it will retain
Maybe
the
we should
same name,
congratulate-
Hillman Garage?
Yeah,
right.
it might be Capital City, Hillman Garage, but yeah, Hillman will still be there.
Okay.
The city should be, in my opinion, the city should really be proud of how
Yeah.
quickly this came down and went back up without almost any disruption to the businesses, to the residents, to anybody. It's just been amazing.
It was a feat in
I just-
those 13 months. Yeah.
The city
John?
should be hugely proud of getting this done on time.
Yes.
I'm gonna really mean it. This was a big project. It was at a very difficult location. And
It's
you
just
guys carried
amazing.
it off like it was nothing.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
fact,
Yep.
it was way more fun to watch and offered no downside of noise disruption and such. I mean,
Yeah.
really well done.
Yeah, Whiting Turner and of course, David Gerald as city manager and director of Department of Public Works. He had a big key to play, big key part in this whole thing. So
This
he's,
might be a very positive thing to say about a PPP. I mean, maybe that's why this went so well, is it was a
Mhm.
public-private partnership.
Well, let me pull a string on that. Can you tell us in simple terms whether this garage, when it goes into operation, will from day one be throwing off revenue to the city, or will it be captured by the private part of this public-private partnership?
yeah, that's kind of hard for me to really wrap my arms around how that all goes into play. But there's some folks that were there at the very beginning that can probably explain it very clearly in layman's terms. And David is one of them, and Eileen. But yeah, they would do a much better job of how that whole partnership will work going forward.
Kurt, I
Yeah.
believe the deal is that while the public-private partnership gets to keep the revenue per se, they do make a payment of $1 million a year to the city. And that is supposed to be the money we would have gotten from some parking revenue. I'm not sure it's all of it, but I think it's enough to say, okay, we're not going to destroy the budget by having nothing come in for 30 years. So I
Mhm.
think there's $1 million a year of money that comes from the garage, regardless of the number of people that park in it. I think.
Senator John McCain seated next to you.
I agree with you, John. I think that's what, certainly something very similar to that, if not exactly.
Yeah.
And instead.
And is there a term after which time the private party is no longer has an interest, or is it perpetual? How does that work?
30 years. 30 years.
30 years. Wow.
At the end
Yeah,
of
that's
30 years.
perpetual as far as
The
I'm
structure
concerned.
reverts, yeah, as far as we're concerned, the structure reverts to the city and the city gets 100% of the revenue at year 31.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much for putting up your hand on that.
Yep, you're quite welcome.
All right. Next is Vince Harriman. Is he here? No. John Purnell.
I was going to ask when the garage is open. I'm done.
All right. Tara,
Nothing, thank you.
and thanks for the minutes. They came in right away last time. That was great. Beth,
No, I've said my piece.
okay, and Tom Schock.
Oh, I do have one thing.
All right.
I won't be at the June meeting.
Oh. Okay.
Not business, but business.
Tom.
Nothing from me, thanks.
All right, and I have nothing beyond what we have already covered. If there is nothing else that you would like to volunteer.
I have
Oh, by the
something.
yes.
Not really related to the committee, but just related to the Naval Academy. As you know, next week is commissioning week. So lots of traffic impacts during the week. They actually start tomorrow with the sea trials. So between 10 and noon tomorrow, the Naval Academy Bridge will be closed for passage of the midshipmen across the Severn River. So definitely some delays between 10 and noon tomorrow. And next week, the big traffic days will be Tuesday and Wednesday for the Blue Angels practice, as well as the performance on Wednesday. And then commissioning begins very early in the morning in terms of backup down Route 50 for the commissioning and graduation on Friday. So lots going on in the city. We always thank the city and the police, City Annapolis Police and Anne Arundel County Police for all their support for carrying off commissioning week. But reach out if there are any concerns or any questions. Both the City of Annapolis has put out a what to expect during commissioning week press announcements, as well as the Academy. But it does speak to how much work we need to do in improving congestion and planning for large events and preparing for emergencies during at any point in time. And so we're working closely with the city on looking at some future opportunities. The city did just complete the report with the help of the consultant looking at intelligent transportation signals in the network throughout the city. And that report should be released fairly soon by the city, I anticipate. But there's more work to do in terms of pursuing funding to get some of that signalization done, which will help definitely for large scale events such as commissioning week, but also emergency response and such as evacuation planning. So more to come on that, but just want to tell you all that thanks for everyone's support and your patience next week as you navigate commissioning week.
Yes, this is a good time to be riding a bicycle, not driving a car. Thanks so much. All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Thanks so much.